for all these other things, but this year has been a year filled with grief. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about this grieving process and Christmas and how do we reconcile maybe not being as happy as we've been in the past. And I know you have probably have a short story or two to share about that too. So I'd love for you just to kind of talk about that.
Well, it's interesting. This morning, well, let me just, the backstory is, I lost my mom in in uh, in January of 2019. So that
Mm-hmm.
was a very difficult year. 2019 was my book launched. My mom had passed away. She got to see the copy, but she didn't get to see the completed version of the book
Oh,
before she passed. And she passed a couple months before the launch. And literally
oh,
within a week of my book launch, my father-in-law ended up in the hospital and we almost lost him.
wow.
And I'm thinking, okay, just go through that year of grief, which was 2019, and I began 2020 thinking, okay, I've grieved, I've mourned the loss,
Right.
and then of course COVID hit, and
Yeah.
we're a family of 10, and 7 out of 10 went from full time employment to nothing, zero, like
Wow.
no income whatsoever. And I haven't talked to many families that have been so flattened like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there were many of us that have gone for absolutely months with no work. And the
Yeah.
whole furloughing thing and getting the money, and that was a big issue because the sites kept crashing. So,
Right.
we had this going on. And when you and I were talking about this season of grief and loss, so I lost my mother last year, and that was extremely difficult. And I thought maybe this year would be better. And I'm finding
Right.
it's not, because it's in this time that I want to call my mom. Mom, can you
Mm.
believe what's going on? Or,
Right.
hey, mom, how are
Yeah.
you doing? But I
Mm-hmm.
lost my grandfather, and he was like my
Oh,
dad. And so
wow.
we just laid him to rest. And my mom's husband called me this morning. And so it's just how
Hmm.
timely that our conversation is about this tonight. And he
Yeah.
said they're having a service at church, and they want to honor those that have lost someone. And he says, I just don't think I can go. I said, why? And he
Huh.
read the letter. And Peggy,
Hmm.
the letter stated, while this may be a season of holly jolly, joyful moments and memories and cookie decorating,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people, they're trying to muster up that joyfulness that just isn't there
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's grief, it's loss.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be somebody at a table.
Right.
If you're on lockdown, you're not
Mm-hmm.
going to be getting together with your extended family, and it's going to be a
Right.
very quiet Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And I am reminded that God is still in control, and that God says
Right.
that He is with us, and that in
Mm-hmm.
Ecclesiastes, God clearly says there's a time to mourn
Yes.
and there's a
Mm-hmm.
time to cry. There's a time
Mm-hmm.
to rejoice. We
Yep.
can be like this morning when he said that to me, I immediately started crying.
Hmm.
I did not want to decorate. I have not done any Christmas shopping because
Hmm.
those were things I did with my mom,
Yeah. That's so
and
hard.
she's not here.
Mm-hmm.
And I start looking through her ornaments, and I get teary, and I made a tree that was just full of angels for my mom.
Wow.
Peggy, if
Hmm.
for you and for those that are watching, listening, if that's where you find yourself, lean
Right.
into it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't pretend it's not there. If you're not
Yes.
experiencing
Yep.
that joy and merriment,
Mm-hmm.
make it low key.
Yep.
If you need to cry, if you need to journal, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I just have stacks of journals. Write
Yeah.
those emotions down, write those
Mm-hmm.
feelings down, give them a name. Why do
Yes.
you miss something, or
Mm-hmm.
your job, or your loved one? What is it you miss? What is it stirring in you?
Right.
Give it a name,
Yeah.
and then give it to the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
and ask the Lord to replace that with His joy that passes all understanding. We can
Exactly.
be crying as
Mm-hmm.
we hang up an ornament.
Yeah.
And the other thing we need to do is tell our loved ones. I have a lot of children, and they've watched me be a little mopey this year. Thanksgiving wasn't the same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My mom's birthday was in August. It was in October,
Mm-hmm.
and in 2 days is when my mother got to see the book, and she was living with us. And these are all triggers for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I tell my kids, listen, today is a hard day. Or I text them
Mm-hmm.
and I said, call your granddad. Today is a hard day. We
Right.
have to use this time to bond together and also
Mm-hmm.
have real, honest, open conversations. I'm hurting.
Right.
I'm
Yep.
grieving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where to go with my emotions right now. Just let me sit. Let me just think through these and let
Mm-hmm.
me give them to the Lord. And I
Yeah.
promise you, God will restore that joy, because the reason we're celebrating Christmas is Jesus. Well, we should be celebrating Jesus like 365
Right.
days a year, not just one.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not in that enthusiastic mood to shop, maybe get some of your kids to help, or just say, we're going to do something a little different.